Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 118, where a podcast talks about pop culture things and sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John, and I am joined as always by Andrea on this late evening. How's it going?
Good, good. Just staying awake. I can do it.
Yep, yep.
Nah, it's all good. I'm all jazzed up from a couple games of softball. I just realized in looking at, our Twitch account, like, man, my outfit this week is quite similar to my one last week.
Oh,
Just some
really?
like red shirt, green shirt, and who knows if you could tell the
Mm,
difference.
mm. See, I was thinking our colors were kind of working pretty well today.
They
It's kind
do,
of,
they
you
do.
know, hmm
Yeah.
hmm
But no,
so.
yeah, my look is quite the same. So apparently I've
Mhm.
got like a sports Andrea look.
Yeah, we both came from physical activities here, so
Yeah, hopefully
just
that keeps us
rushing home.
jazzed and awake throughout this late
Mhm.
night episode.
Yeah. No, it always gets me wired. I'll be physically
Mhm.
tired, but mentally awake. So,
Right, same.
mhm. All right. Well, tonight's gonna be a little bit different. We're
Mhm,
gonna axe some news. We're gonna get
mhm,
right to the heart of things. After we talk drinks and a little update on our weeks. Then we're gonna talk about our webtoons we've been covering yet. Maybe meant
mhm.
to be and solo leveling. Um, you know, these are things that are short enough. Like right now, if you have not yet read to episode 9 of Soul Leveling, you could do that right now, and
Easy
then
breezy.
you'll be ready to go by the time we get there.
Mhm,
So, mhm. And then at the end of the episode, we're going to talk about the next episode of House of the Dragon.
mhm.
Um, HOTD, whatever. We're going to get there, and it's going to be spoilery. It's going to be fun. So stick around for that. But
Mhm.
for all the things, as I mentioned, drink holidays. We got to talk about those.
Yes, yes, let's rewind our week to cling to the last couple of days of August here and celebrate on August 25th. It was one of my personal favorite drink holidays, or at least college Andrea, if we're gonna use like different stages of Andrea tonight. It's one of my favorite holidays, Whiskey Sour Day.
Kind of like a Gia thing. Like you're
Yes,
gonna converse
yes,
with other stages of life.
right.
hmm
Sports Andrea, college Andrea.
hmm hmm
So yeah, so August 25th was Whiskey Sour Day. I am not
Nice.
celebrating. Are you?
No.
Okay, moving right along then. August 28th, National Red Wine Day. Current Andrea would definitely like to celebrate this holiday. Sadly, not doing it, but John, you.
You know, I'm not. If we could over the distance here, split a bottle of red wine, we'd make it
Uh,
happen. But you know,
right?
technology's not there yet. So.
Well, that's why we got to get back our in person episodes. We've been saying that for some time, but
hmm hmm
sometime soon, sometime soon. Sticking on that kind of same theme, the following day, August 29th, International Cabernet Sauvignon Day. Not my favorite type of red wine, but I know
hmm
it's pretty common among
hmm
red wine drinkers.
hmm Yep.
I'm guessing no on red wine, no on
Nope.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
That would be
All
correct.
right.
Yep.
All right. Then same day, different choices, wildly different choices. It's lemon juice day on August 29th as well. Thought it was just like fun to include that in there.
Yeah.
I don't
Gotta
know
have the
anybody
mixers,
who
right?
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know anybody who drinks like a lemon juice straight up, but it's a great mixer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great for a lot of things. Great for your throat, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
hmm yeah. I'm not. I have no lemon juice present. Mm.
Okay, neither me. Then finally, today, August 30th, it is National Mai Tai Day, which I realized I've never had.
I don't think I have either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know. I feel like it's a
Tropical.
very like vacation-y specific
Yeah.
drink. that I
Hmm.
don't know that I would just try off the cuff on any random day. So I gotta wait for
Yeah.
like a good vacation to try one.
Yeah. When I was in Fort Myers, I feel like that would have been a prime opportunity.
Mm,
I did
sure.
have sweet tropical drinks,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't recall having a mai tai.
Sure.
So and so I don't tonight either.
Yeah, no, me neither. So we're 0 for 5 tonight on both
Oh
of
my
us.
gosh, we had so many opportunities.
I know. What a good week. And we squandered it.
Uh huh. Uh-huh.
Yes. Unfortunately, coming straight from sports, it doesn't really lend itself to like,
I know.
let's have a drink.
Mhm. Like,
So,
if it was hot, I guess, in the middle of the day and you come back, cold
right.
beer, that
Right.
kind of thing. Still wouldn't be any of the holidays here, but
Right. But
yeah.
yeah, it would be something.
Hmm. Well, do you have anything?
I have
Water?
water and ginger ale, man.
Okay. Well, I have water as well. That's really great. But I thought I got to do something. So I've got a shot of
Ooh.
peanut butter whiskey.
Yeah, there you go.
Um,
You're one half of whiskey sour day.
yeah, it's whiskey. And then if I feel so inclined, I still have next to me from the other week my Targaryen whiskey.
There you go.
So,
There you
you
go.
know,
Perfect.
if I need a shot to get through anything or, whatever, I will do so. But cheers to your ginger ale and healthy
Woohoo.
choices.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like there's one specific point that I definitely want to bring up when we talk about House of the Dragon that I could have used a shot. And I feel like you know it from my notes
I didn't
because
look at
I
your
was
notes. I
okay,
I
if you look at my notes, I was not shy about my feelings in a particular scene.
so as a co-host, I don't know if it's best for me to look at your notes or
Mhm.
to steer clear of them. Sometimes I try to like scan them during the show to see if there's something we're
Sure.
missing that we haven't talked about. But
Sure.
otherwise, I like being surprised by what you're going to say generally. So,
Yeah, same. Although I feel like sometimes for things like Raised by Wolves, I like to scan your notes because sometimes the show was so cerebral that I wanted to like think about,
right.
what we'd written
Yeah.
down, or, like our thoughts because they got a little bit more into the, you know, intangible or like philosophical. So it was just like, yeah, okay, like I want to ruminate on that. I want to chew on it. For
You
other
don't want to
types of
be
things, for
you
other
don't want to
types
be
of things, like, I
blindsided.
like being surprised. No, it's not about being blindsided, but it was just like, oh, sometimes like, that's a really good
Yeah.
comment, and I really wanna think about it,
Hmm.
and then it would, like, kind of spark my own like, I'd already watched the show and took my own notes, so it wasn't like, "Oh, let me copy John's notes, it's, like, a really great idea."
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You do want to.
yeah,
Yeah. Because sometimes thinking about it in the moment, it takes a little more. So,
right.
yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'm a little sad now. Talk about Raised by Wolves. It's no more.
I know, oh,
Yeah.
shed a
Mm.
tear, raise a
Yeah.
glass, take a shot.
Hmm. um. Yeah. What's your week been like? We're a little under a week since our last show, but
Yeah.
what have you managed to watch or read
Well
or
Well, of course, we've both been busy since we both attended the Minnesota Renaissance Festival.
huzzah?
Huzzah! When I hear huzzah, sometimes my mind just adds for the tipper
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah. Yeah.
when you hear it the most.
Yeah.
So
Huzzah for the tip.
huzzah for the tipper! Um, so we both attended the Renaissance Festival, which was a great time as per usual. Um, but yeah, other than that, in terms of like media I've consumed, it's been a lot of webtoons. Of
Okay.
course, I've read, our things for today, but then I
Yep.
also started a couple of new series, two that I wanted to just briefly mention because I'm really enjoying them. One is called Love Me to Death, and it's the story of a necromancer who brings back a young woman on a contract for somebody else, and relationships, you know, start to get complicated. States of being are questioned, like different mindsets are questioned. So I like it. It's a really well put together webtoon, a husband and wife team, and I think they do a really excellent job. I'm enjoying it so far. Love the art style so far as well. And then I'm also reading Suitor Armor, um, which I thought started off well. I'm less far into that one, but I like the feel of the universe that's being
Okay.
created so far. So,
See, I saw your notes in here, and I said,
hmm
okay. The first one I saw was my ID is Gungam Beauty,
yes,
and I went and looked at that and was like, okay, that one looks kind of cool. And then I saw your comment. I was like, oh, okay.
I
And
tried. I tried, and it wasn't like the story was terrible. I just really, it was slow moving, and I really hated the art style.
okay,
And I wanted
interesting.
to like it because I know it's, I know it's a Netflix show, I believe. Um,
Wow,
so I was like, "Oh, I really wanna read this and then go watch the Netflix series."
it's a weird premise. Like,
Yeah,
I felt kind of weird by the premise.
yeah,
So
I did.
someone that gets major plastic surgery and then is like hoping to start anew. And I know that from my understanding, like Korean culture is incredibly um superficial in terms of like
Mhm,
beauty standards and stuff or whatever.
right,
Um, but so I can see where this comes from, I guess. But
right. Yeah, like I said, the story seemed well written, but yeah, I had a hard time with, like, the essential premise, and I had a hard time with the art style. So
okay,
I was like, "Yeah, maybe I'll just watch the Netflix series, and I just have to try it there. Maybe this just, like, isn't the medium for me."
okay. Maybe I'll try I Love Me to Death because I looked at the other two. I'm like, I don't know about this art. Like, I didn't go into any of them, just like looking at the
Yeah.
thumbnails, the previous stuff, or whatever. Um, but if you love that art, maybe I can look at it more.
I loved it. It's definitely different. It's not like traditional, like, you know, manga type of like emulation art style. It's very like cartoon.
Yeah.
So it's very different that way, but I think it works for this
Okay.
story.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah. And then of course, yeah, what read Solo Leveling maybe meant to be, and then nabbed in the latest House of the Dragon.
Yeah. I mean, the week went fast, right?
It really
So
did. I mean, the Renaissance Festival does take, like, a generous amount of time, so
yeah. Yeah. All the things for the show, and Ashley had been kind of out of like webtoons and manga and stuff for a little bit. Kind of caught up on everything mostly, and so she was looking for some new stuff. And she found one called "Like Wind on a Dry Branch," which is an
Mm,
interesting title. And
yes, it
I
is.
first saw it, and I was like, I don't know about this art. Again, it's definitely like you can tell usually right away, like
Mhm,
um, if who the audience is for the
mhm,
target audience is, and definitely a lot of the stuff she reads, which is understandable, is more show ho looking,
mm, mhm,
geared towards women, so it's like not my style normally. But I did open this up and take a look, and for sure the backgrounds are really well done, so
sure.
I might actually give this one a shot. And then I finally got in the mail just, I think yesterday, um, War Party.
Oh, yeah.
So this is issue number 4.
Mhm,
Um, it is by Justin Murphy, and he signed it and everything. And it's a little sad because now I have to wait a while for the next issue. But again,
mm,
werewolf, people transforming into monsters kind of action set in the like uh see, it's I think it's 1736, and just a couple shots from the inside. One thing that I've disliked about American comics a lot over the years is the false advertising. You look at a cover, and they pay a different person to spend hours and hours making a cover, and then
mhm,
they pay someone else to do the pencils for the interior, someone
mhm,
else that's expected to churn out books fast. Well,
sure.
when you're doing independent comics, they don't do monthly, so they can take their time more on stuff. So you get a better, like, more true to like what it looks like on the cover to what it looks
Mm,
like on the
mhm,
interior. And so I just
sure.
appreciate that because manga doesn't do that sort of false advertising thing. when you look at manga or webtoons, you look at the cover, that's what it's like on the inside, except probably not in color, you know.
Mhm.
So, anyways, War Party. This is issue 4 of 6. Um, I'm liking the series so far. I have to say, in this issue, I saw where it was going. I'm not upset with where it's going, but I saw it coming. And
Mhm.
then I kind of wish there was going to be a few more issues in this series so I could get to care more about the people. Because right
Mhm.
now we're invested in the central person's story, but the people that are along in his war party along with him and stuff, I don't know that much about. I don't care that much for him, you know. So
Mhm.
maybe we'll see what happens in the next 2 issues. But yeah. Anyways, War Party issue 4, it's good. I have issue 0 coming. It's kind of a prequel sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
So wanted to mention that. And then I finished issue volume 1 of Kowloon, generic romance. So this is
Yeah.
where I heard the watermelon with cigarettes
Oh,
is
sure.
even her on the cover with it.
On the cover, yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Um,
God, that seems familiar somehow.
yeah, well, so in the back here it says Kowloon Walled City in Hong Kong was once the most densely populated place on earth, with about 33,000 people living in a 6.5-acre interconnected high-rise towers.
Mhm.
Um, it's crazy. So that's a real place. It was a real
Mhm.
thing, and it's crazy. And I'd never heard of it until looking into this book.
Mhm.
And it was like under territorial dispute, British rule, and some of that, and then eventually was demolished in 1994. Um,
Okay.
but this author, she was intrigued in the city, and so this is a story that takes place in that city, and it's only volume 1. It's the only volume that is presently out and available,
Okay.
but, I like it a lot. It's,
Awesome.
it's a it's a romance story, but a different take on one, and the setting of Kowloon is really interesting to me,
Mhm.
um, and it feels like an older manga, just even the art style a little bit, um, I don't know. So anyways, volume 1, it's the only one available. Volume 2 is coming out pretty quickly, I think. Kowloon Generic Romance by Jun Mayuzuki.
Okay.
Mayuzuki. And yeah, recommended.
Awesome.
So those are my
And
little reviews for things from
cigarettes
the
and
week.
watermelon also recommended?
I mean, kids don't smoke. But yeah, actually, it kind of grew on me a little bit. So
It's
I'll
okay,
make it
this
a
is the
thing
late
now.
night episode, we can say it.
That's right.
No
Oh, you're
kiddios.
right. Mhm, mhm. It's interesting that different, like, smoking cultures or whatever, all the smoking culture, drinking culture, all this stuff in different places or whatever, and Korea seems like even bigger than Japan in terms of, like, a smoking culture. A lot of manga or a lot of manhwa and the webtoons stuff, like, the people pretty commonly smoke,
Mhm.
I'd say. So
I was, I mean, speaking of, I was pretty surprised at actually, because the webtoons that I've read haven't featured smoking. So I was sort of surprised by maybe meant to be and the level of like Gia, our main
Mm.
character, and her smoking and how that's the thing.
I
I
think
mean,
it's
it wasn't like, oh my God, shocking. Somebody smokes cigarettes, but it was just like, oh, like I just haven't encountered that in a webtoon. And it used
Mhm.
to be so prevalent.
I think that if you and correct me if you've had different experience from what you've read, but I feel like if
Sure.
things are placed in Seoul or in a real Korean city,
Hmm.
um, then it's common, and the like drinking culture and going for drinks after work and all that sort of thing. But when you're set in a fantasy environment or some other place, it's less
Hmm.
prevalent.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's definitely my experience. I think also just with maybe it's the tunes that I've chosen, or just by happenstance. It's usually like a side character doing it, and so I just don't quite notice it, or like a
Mhm.
main character's doing it, but it's not quite as prevalent as like this main character. So, and it's not like a topic of discussion, it just like happens. So I'm not
Yep.
really paying attention to it. And then in this one, this last like, I don't know, series of episodes, I just really was like, huh, like I just keep forgetting that her smoking is a thing until it's like right there
Mhm.
again. So
Mhm. Yeah, because in, like, American culture, when it was the tail end of when it was permitted,
hmm.
the only time you'd see tobacco use was by an evil fat
Right.
businessman with a cigar. It's like
Right.
the stereotype kind of thing. And then in Japanese stuff, I feel like it's once you get into um, it's usually a side person, like you're saying, or it's pretty seldom when it's shonen or the kind of early mid-teen
Hmm.
oriented content. Well, you get this sent in and you get little like, your characters are now in their 20s or 30s. Um, then it becomes much more
Common.
common. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, jumping on that, like, when you said it's like high school or shonen, it's like the rebel character.
Yeah. Mhm, mhm.
Yep.
Well,
So
anyways, I don't
so
know if
funny
that's
how it,
interesting to
like
anyone, but
no, it's funny how, like, props like that can, like, register in your brain as, like, signals,
yeah.
shorthand for, like, this type of character.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Like, and if I've never talked about it on here, smoking in Japan. So it's kind of interesting where, here in the States some time ago, they, pretty much universally banned smoking indoors, in like
Mhm,
restaurants and whatever. In Japan, it's more the opposite. Like, it's more frowned upon to be smoking outside. Like, if
mm,
you're smoking outside, you're smoking in a smoking area,
mhm,
or you're like, out of people aren't around. You're outside of whatever. You're not in the hustle and bustle of things. But like it's so often you'll see outside at festivals or parades or what or things, there'll be a smoking tent. So they'll set
mhm,
up like an area that if you want to go
sure,
and smoke outside, you go there. And then it's common to have smoking inside allowed.
mhm,
So just sort of opposite of what how we would
yeah.
here. So anyways. Smoking conversation. All
Well,
right.
at least it can sort of transition us.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we're skipping news this week.
Yep.
Oh, Alan shared a picture. Oh yeah, you should put that on screen if you can somehow. I don't know. Replace my picture with it. I don't know. I try very carefully to heed the you know, cultural standards or rules of wherever I'm going.
Mhm,
And I have to say, after this image that Alan took of me, uh, that where I'm holding a cigarette with chopsticks,
mhm,
I was thinking definitely in that moment, it's like, I wonder if this would be considered inappropriate or rude in some way. So
mm,
I don't know. I don't know. I've always
I
thought
don't
about
know.
that. Um, anyways, so yeah, no news this week. We'll talk about the news next week. I'm sure there'll be an onslaught of things to catch up on. But
Of
we're
course.
going right into Webtoon talk and maybe meant to be.
Mhm,
Um, Episode 16 through 18.
mhm.
We're getting
Some
into this
very
quite a
different
ways.
episodes.
Yeah, yeah, it is. We're
Yeah.
shifting
I
focus a little bit on our characters here.
Right, I was gonna say, speaking of, side characters, we get a whole, like, 2 episodes that are basically devoted to them. Kind of almost 2 and a half, really. Because I
Yeah.
mean, it's their story plus, like, how it ties in with our main character, Gia. Minchul's,
Hmm.
like, almost non-existent here,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I should have wrote down their names here because we have
Sang-Yu
s-
Choi, or Sung-Yu,
okay.
so that's the guy, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, Choi. Yep.
Soo-Yeon, I think is Soo So, I think is the manager.
Yeah, Miss So. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So and Choi.
Haha.
Mhm.
I definitely just wanna be like, "Yep, called it, called it, called it."
Yeah,
Like,
you were
from the
definitely.
very beginning, I was
Mhm,
definitely like, "These guys are gonna have a thing, and it's gonna be like an accidental, like, whoops,
mhm.
we slept together, and, awkward." Like, I knew it.
I
So,
like
I just
this,
feel vindicated.
I like this aside. I like this separate
Mhm.
story here because it's nice to have a little bit of a break, honestly, from Gia's antics,
Yeah.
um, at this point, so it's a good time to have that, and though it's like, do we n I'm not sure if I'm happy with how these 2 are handling this, but
No.
it's funny, and, I'm not, because it's fresh, because it's new, because we haven't seen it, it's
Mhm.
entertaining at this point, and
Mhm.
we get to know a little bit more, of Choi's background
Yes.
and, like, how he's been putting on a facade. He's really been, like, pushed in this role, like, people see him in a certain way. It's your sun sign versus your whatever, moon sign or whatever,
Right.
um, and the elevator scene is good.
Yep. Yeah, no, they've got, like, all, like, the classic awkward moments, you know?
Mhm,
It's so great that they're, like, they, went to went to bed together. They have the awkward morning wake up, like, "What do we
mhm.
do?" And then they, one says nothing and one is like, "Sorry." So just, like,
Yeah,
more
yeah,
like,
and that haunts him. Yeah.
worst responses, nothing and sorry. Um,
Mhm.
and then, yeah, like, running into each other and being like, "Whoa," like, "I can't say anything else," and then trying to talk to each other in the elevator, and the male guy comes in and is like, "This is a terrible vibe. I hate this vibe."
Yeah.
He's just in the middle like, "This is terrible." So yeah, they're just, like, full of, "What do we do with this?"
Well, I'm
Um
rooting for these 2.
I am too.
Mhm.
I think they're a lot of fun, and it was fun to see them like, hey, they even have a past together. They were together at university,
Yep.
and they were
Mhm.
kind of different people back then. Um, so that was kind of fun to like play a little rewind and get some background in that sort of like roundabout way, but also sort of develop their relationship in the now. And then yeah, it kind of led us to this great setup of learning more about Sang Yu Choi, his background, his sisters, their backgrounds, and
Yeah.
then suddenly we got this great pivot to
Mhm.
Gia and her background. And I
Flaming
have
hot
to say,
chicken feet.
I didn't see this coming. I loved this.
No.
This was
Mhm.
great. Like
And then
all of
we
this interlude was like really well timed to give us a break from, like you said, Gia's antics with regard to Minchul, and then like deepen our side characters, and then by extension deepen our main character. Loved
Yeah.
it.
So then we have it gives us, like, places we can see this going, where
Mhm.
what made Gia stop being a writer? Like, why is she not
Yeah,
doing this anymore? Why is she not pursuing this? Like, what is did
right,
she always was she always this irresponsible, or did something happen that, like, she stopped working and kind of
right.
introverted herself and whatever?
Yeah, because we've gotten some hints in the past, like some past panels of the tune where they've, talked about like, Gia at 25 employed, and then like, oh, like we really want to talk about, the way I am. It all happened after like this employment, and then, oh, I am the way I am, and it's like this specific age Gia's fault when she's like talking to all the different age level Gias, and having a conference with them. It's like, oh, it's your
Mhm.
fault. So we've gotten like these hints of like, okay, she was gainfully employed. Clearly something happened and it's like catastrophic. And we don't know
Yeah.
if it's like good, bad, like embarrassing, whatever it is. But whatever the thing is, clearly impacted Gia in a huge, huge way.
Yep.
So now we're getting like, okay, she's not just employed, she was a romance writer.
Yeah.
Like, I did not see that coming.
I mean, she doesn't seem like the queen of romance and how to
Well,
manage a relationship.
It's so great the way they introduce it, like, she's like, "Oh, I think I'll try my hand at writing. Oh, wait, I'm
Yeah.
super good." Like, that was sort of, like, in line with Gia's character,
Yeah.
you know, like, that
Mhm.
she wasn't like Sang-Yu's sister where, she was like, "Oh, I love writing, it's my passion, and I've always wanted to do it," and, she's clearly dedicated. Gia's just like, "Ah, let me try." Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah,
And
all of that
d
felt like natural development there.
am I remembering this right? It's like, Choi's middle sister, that's the writer,
Mhm.
I think it's his middle one,
I
that,
think
yeah, her hair was dyed the color that Gia's used to be. So it's
yes.
almost like she was looking up to Gia and,
Yes.
like, emulate because they were both writers then, but Gia hit it big, and so it's kind of like a inspiration or something.
Mhm.
So because now Gia is going blonde. So I just it'd be interesting to see a meetup again, if that, like, rekindles something, or if she's like we see this sort of like looking up to Gia sort of thing, but then it's like, well,
Right,
look what she's become now, you know?
right, or, like,
Just
if
see
she
her hunched over smoking again somewhere, you
knows
know? And like,
with Minchul eating some raw chicken somewhere.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, yeah, or it'd be interesting to know if, like, she knows what the thing is or was involved in what the
Yeah.
thing is that, like, kind of seems to have blown up Gia's life, whatever this thing is.
Yep.
So, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
I dig
Well,
it.
we learned a lot. That yeah, they were fun episodes, fun issues, and I think next week we're gonna probably catch up to
Mhm,
uh live. So we're gonna have to then after that make a decision if we want to kind of every other week it or one at a time or what. But
right.
yep, getting caught up. So
Mhm.
well, speaking of something we're nowhere near caught up on, uh solo leveling.
True.
So I've been again seeing this all over the place in stores in print. So
Mhm,
it's cool that it's doing so well. We're talking soul leveling numbers 7 through 9. So we're still in the early days here, early issues of this series. We're still trying to get out of this dungeon.
mhm.
What'd you think of these?
I loved the information that we got from these episodes. There wasn't a lot of like forward momentum in terms of plot. And so it was good to get some information about like, okay, when they're describing this dungeon and the gate that's here, it's like, okay, now we know there's not just like a gate, there's
Yeah.
multiple gates. So we got a gate appears, you have 7 days before it fully opens and monsters come through to go in, kind of clear that gate of anything that could come into this world and get out. So that was really interesting to me as a concept. I really liked that. Um, so that was kind of fun to learn about because, yeah, like I said, there wasn't a lot of forward momentum. We had our main character figuring out more puzzles, more riddles
Yeah.
that was, in this dungeon. But there was a lot more, I think, character development within this like small dwindling
Yeah.
raiding party that's been stuck in there. Um, so yeah, that was kind of I think the two main focuses of these episodes were
Hmm.
figuring out the people who still remain and what they're like, and then yeah, giving us more information about the world in general.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel like this series so far is asking to be consumed at greater than 3 episodes
Yeah.
at a time. Because obviously you're right. At this point, it feels like we're in a Dungeons and Dragons battle where we're
Hmm.
taking turn. You know, like this battle's going for a while because we're taking turns rolling dice. Um, but I agree, the information that we're getting is good, and it's adding a little bit of a twist to giving us a little more urgency that
Hmm.
some manga or shows don't have. You know, like I've seen before. From what I remember of it, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? I think is how the long title goes. And there's basically towers that you go in, and you're an adventurer, and you go up the levels or whatever,
Mhm.
and they get increasingly difficult. But the point is, you clear it and you sell stuff that you collect to upgrade your gear and that kind of adventure sort of D&D type of thing. Whereas
Mhm.
this is like, hey, no, we need to actually do this because yes, you make money doing it, but also if you wait on this, you're going to have creatures uh, take, infiltrate, invade this world. So
Yeah,
that's a
right.
good that's a good extra setup and dimension
Right.
to
It's a
this
g
world.
why these people are doing this.
Yep. hmm Yep. Otherwise, I'm still liking the art, still well done. Like I say, numbers
Mhm.
are dwindling. I'm still hoping as we get further on, we get something more unique in terms of character design, as opposed to like
Mhm.
people wearing regular clothes and just I don't know. It's a weird troop of people we're put in
Yeah.
this initial dungeon with, but
They, these episodes kind of showed the worst of people, to be honest. You
mhm,
know? I feel like a lot of these episodes focused on people just being scared and being shitty in a bad situation, just kind of
mhm,
showing the side of humanity that like looks for somebody to blame for what's going on, doesn't want to take responsibility, just wants to
yeah,
take out frustrations, like these people who like volunteer the party leader to be sacrificed.
yeah,
Um and then are the same people when, our main character's like, "Hey, you can't run to the like pretend safety of this open door because you need to be here to look at these statues so they don't move. And we just need to wait out this timer and we're going to be fine." And
mhm,
they all just like one by one, they're like, "Sorry, I can't.
yeah,
Like this temptation is just too great and they won't
yeah.
do it."
I
So
mean,
I was
and
I was real frustrated with these people.
in fairness, it'd be, obviously it's a test of faith, so it would be a
Right.
test and difficult, but you don't know if you're judging the situation correctly. Makes
Yeah.
sense. It does seem to make sense, but if you're wrong, you're probably
I
dead.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's hard when, as an outsider, you can think logically of like, okay, like he's been right so far about all of these riddles. Like every single time it's been a gamble. So what's different about this last one? And
Mhm.
like, it's like literally like, this is the last riddle. This is the last commandment. It's literally testing your faith. I figured it out. The door is the temptation. And
Yeah.
people are still like, nah, I gotta
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Mhm. Mhm.
good episodes, but yeah, I feel like maybe I don't know, we could try like 5 at a time or something and see
Sure.
if
Mhm.
that might progress our story a little faster.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, that's been Soul Leveling 7
Mhm.
through 9 and maybe meant to be 16 through 18. We'll be
Mhm.
back next week from a Webtoon talk. So stick around for that.
Mhm.
But right now, this week yet, this very evening, this very moment, we're talking House of the Dragon.
Mhm.
No question on the episode here. It's the second one. It just came out on Sunday. One
Mhm.
episode a week, appointment viewing, airs at 8 o'clock or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and here it is. So last week we know that it was a big premiere, the biggest
Mhm.
premiere for HBO to date.
Mhm.
Um, I just read before the show that episode 2 inched up another 2% in viewership.
Wow. Okay.
So, it
Holding
didn't
strong so far.
yeah, so the first episode didn't, um, oh my set the world on fire where there's a whole bunch more people, but it's obviously impressed enough that people stuck around and
Yeah.
got a couple more. So that's good track. We might as well start this off. I will pour myself another shot and have one for you because you said earlier or pre-show that you might
Yes.
need shots to get through some moment in the show.
Yes.
So while I take this, why don't you explain to us what that moment was? And it's probably a pretty pivotal moment in this episode.
It is a pivotal moment. It comes deep into the episode. Um, so I'll set it up just a little teeny bit. This episode is really focused around a couple of different things, and one of them being that surprise, we have a time jump. It's 6 months into the future after the last episode, and everybody in the kingdom is expecting King Viserys to get remarried. And we've got a couple of
Yeah.
different people like jockeying for position, and like, Viserys and his daughter Rhaenyra are trying to come to terms with the fact that, her mother has died, but he needs to take a new wife, and that's what's expected of him. And he's just like, they have several very beautiful conversations about, I could never replace your mother. I loved her so much. They bond over their grief, they bond over how much they loved her. And it's it's all feeling like really positive. She supports him, and then he gathers the small council to make his announcement of, you know this episode has been leading up to, I've gotten several different offers, one very important one from my, fellow Valyrian household, and
Yeah.
kind of right hand man over here. I was, everybody says like this is the match to go with, even though this girl is like 9, maybe. And it's so good.
I think they mentioned age. I don't remember what it was, but it was yeah,
I
it was
think
like 11 or something like that. It was
it's young because
yeah.
she talks about the fact, when they have their like meeting, she's like, "Oh, mom said I wouldn't have to bed you until I was 14." And I'm just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, oh, this is so awful." But everybody who encourages Viserys makes amazingly points. Like, I don't know, side shout out to the random guy on the council that Viserys talks to.
Yeah.
I have no idea what his name is, but he's got like the short, like kind of, I guess, mid length curly hair. And he's like making all these amazing points about marrying this like 9-year-old girl, even though it's so gross. It's like, oh, this makes terrible, horrible theoretical sense. You
Yep.
smart, straight shooter. And then we have all of this happening, and it culminates in the moment that Viserys gathers the small council. He's about to announce his choice. Rhaenyra's nodding. She supports him. She's smiling. Everybody's feeling it. And he looks around the room, and I wrote down my reaction, which was, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. You fucking fool. You absolute GD moron. He ignores all of this amazing advice and decides to slap Rhaenyra in the face as well by choosing her best friend, Alicent, his hand the hand of King Otto
Mm.
Hightower's daughter. And
It
everybody
worked.
was, I was so pissed. Like, he looked around, and I was just like, "He's gonna say it. He's
He's
gonna
gonna
say
say it.
it. What a
Yeah.
what a idiot." Like, I just knew it, and I was like, "Don't do it. It's the stupid move." Like,
Yeah.
this whole episode, you've been building up your relationship with your daughter, and you're about to just cut it down in one fell swoop.
Mhm.
You're about to piss off a key ally, and for what?
Yeah.
For what?
You're already marrying for
Duty.
uh yeah, right. For
So
responsibility. And so
just
just
marry for duty.
yeah. Mhm.
Just do it. Like, you don't need this chick. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I know they have a couple of, like, good conversations and whatever in this episode, because I
Yeah.
think they're trying to, like, build the fact that, like, there's something there between the king and Alicent. But for me, it just, like, the payoff just doesn't seem worth it. Um, and I also just think, like, it now colors my every viewing of Alicent and Rhaenyra's interactions, where I'm just like, Allison's not telling you that she's betting your father and trying to like weasel in there. And it
Okay.
just feels gross and betrayal and ick. And I hate it.
So, okay, let's talk about this for a moment because
Yes.
we got in the end,
In the post credits. Yep.
yes. I want to disregard everything actors ever say. Like I
I
just
know.
like but at the same time it's like the actor is supposed to understand their character and their motivations so they can
Mhm.
play them properly. because totally in this episode for sure, to me, it reads as she 100% knows what she's doing.
Mhm.
I mean, we even get called out that she's like picking at her nails and like kind of making it bleed,
Yep.
almost as like she doesn't, it's almost like she really
It's like
doesn't
guilt.
want to be doing this. She's putting
Yeah.
this face on so well. And this is her kind of tell or her tick here. And
Yes. Yep.
so I don't know, because she's very convincing and seems
Yeah.
very to be having good, genuine conversation and stuff. But then she does these lines like, I know that, she would enjoy your company just as I have. Come on, you're old
Right.
enough. Your father is telling you to go with a certain dress, your mother's dress.
No.
Right. So when she says, the actress says post credits that she is like,
Genuine.
yeah, genuine and just, she's
BS.
understands her father's loss and what that was like for him when she lost her mother. And so she's, it
It reads BS to me.
yeah.
It reads naive and BS, and, like, maybe that's what you wanna believe about your character, but, like, it's just it doesn't seem realistic.
Mhm. Mhm.
Unless so my only avenue of, like, maybe believing that is so we not only got, like, a post credits, kind of like actor and writer and director discussion of the episode, we also got, a preview for episode 3,
Mhm.
in which a lot of things are happening.
Yeah.
Um, but kind of importantly, the pieces that focus on Alicent, she is very clearly together with the king. She's trying to mend fences with Rhaenyra and her father, and Rhaenyra and herself. Um, so sticking with, I kind of talked about in the first episode that Viserys and Rhaenyra's relationship was giving me like Henry VIII and Elizabeth vibes. If Henry VIII had sort of like been like, oh right, I have this like smart, amazingly talented daughter Elizabeth who could totally be a great ruler. Now I'm still getting Henry VIII vibes from Viserys, and Alicent is giving me his third wife, Jane Seymour vibes, who is like the ultimate, like, who's often portrayed as the ultimate, like, peacekeeper, like, uniter. She, like, only wants, Henry to be reconciled with his daughters and, like, let's mend fences. And I love everybody. And I'm so gentle and sweet all the time. So that is sort of like the only avenue that my brain can maybe wrap around Allison's motives being genuine. But like you, I'm sort of
Peacekeeping, mending sort of things,
right,
yeah.
right. But I'm still sort of questioning that because of what you said, like the finger picking that she's got, like the nervous tick. It does seem almost a manifestation of like maybe her guilty conscience at what she's
Yeah,
doing, because she has to know on some level, even if, she only wants good things for Rhaenyra and Viserys, she has to know that Rhaenyra would feel betrayed by this. Like,
right.
there's no conceivable way that she wouldn't feel that way, especially because Allison didn't forthright say, "Hey, my father sent me to your father, and now
Mhm.
we're developing a relationship." She hid all of that from Rhaenyra
Yeah.
and plenty of opportunities to tell her. So
Didn't Otto tell her as well that, like, "You're not mentioning this to," or was that the king? Was that Viserys? He's like, "You're not mentioning this
you're not
to."
mentioning our talks. Yeah, Viserys said,
Yeah,
in this episode,
yeah,
"You're not mentioning our talks to Rhaenyra." Um,
yeah,
and I mean, I
which
get
is
that.
odd too, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I get that because they clearly both know that Rhaenyra would react badly. So
Yeah,
that's what makes this episode all the more disappointing for those relationships that seem to be going so well. And you're like, but it's not gonna go well. Like,
yeah,
you know,
mhm,
you say you want to mend fences with her and you want everything to be happy, but like, how can it? You're keeping
mhm,
this huge secret from her.
yeah.
So yeah, so it just that small council scene just like, ugh, my brain, my hands, my whole body was just like, oh. Done.
These were they were. I, I was saying I think I put it in my notes. I was definitely getting some Ned Stark vibes in
Mhm.
this, like the kind of naive but like trying to do right sort of thing. That's really going to ultimately like
Bite you in the
not
ass.
being. Yeah, it's we sort of get the lesson often in Martin's work. It seems that like if you don't play ball, if you don't play the political game, if you don't respect the powers that be and the structures that are in place, you're going to be in trouble. Things aren't
Yep,
going to go well for you.
yep.
And so I don't know what that exactly is, if that's like a just a if that's a pessimism or a like a
Well,
feeling more true to history sort of element
yeah.
or what
I think
exactly, but
I think in terms of, like, Ned Stark, you at least felt that with him, he's doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, he's
yeah.
exposing the truth about Cersei and Jamie, and he's trying to tell
Yes.
Robert about, all of this. So he's doing, like, right, but right isn't always like you said, it doesn't always matter if you're not playing the political ball game.
Yep.
Here, Viserys just seems like an idiot. Like,
Hmm.
there's no, like, this is the right thing to do on any level. Like, Alicent doesn't need him to, like, swoop in and save her. There's no wrong that's happening technically. Like, nobody would not marry Alicent because she's been with the king. He doesn't owe it to her. So we're not getting the same sense of like, oh, Viserys, you're like dying upon the sword of righteousness here. It's literally just like you fool.
Yep. I it, there's a lot of reality in Martin's works now that I think is um, sets it apart from other fantasy things. A lot of grounded elements, but one element that I think is not so realistic that's rearing its head now is this idea that children are going to be allowed, princess or not, to sort of run amok or do their own thing.
Mm,
So we have a moment where um let's see, it's his name, Doctor Who, the doctor,
Damon,
yeah, Damon. Prince Damon is obviously is an issue. The council sees him as a problem. He's kind of taken over um
Dragonstone. Hmm.
Dragonstone and then taken an egg. Well, they go. Otto decides he's going to go with some people and have a little convo and get
Stupid,
an egg back.
stupid.
And I'm of there's a lot of wrong here in terms of how this was handled. Firstly, if you meant to like take an egg by force, you better take a dragon because he has one. You
Samesies.
got to do it.
That was my thought. Like, I mean, when he like gathered his force and he was like, "Oh, let me handle this, my king. Like, you can't
Yeah.
like denigrate yourself to like respond to this." And then he's like, "Round up 20 of my personal guard," and I was like, "20 people?
Yeah.
You going to
He's
get
got
a
an
dragon
army
egg?"
of gold coats or whatever now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2,000 gold cloaks. I think they said in the last episode, and he's got a dragon, and you got like 20 dudes.
Mhm,
Like, oh, this was like spectacularly ill conceived.
mhm. Now, I get if you're gonna go and you say, "I'm here in the hand of the king.
Right.
I'm letting you know in person that he is very displeased that you have taken a dragon egg and we are asking for it back. We intend no harm to you or anyone here, but is not appropriate nor acceptable for you to have taken a dragon egg. And you know, return the egg to us now, or the king will hear of your insolence."
Mhm.
That kind of thing. Never, don't draw your sword. Make it clear you didn't come there to fight because you clearly didn't come there to fight. Because you came there to fight, you're on the losing end.
Yeah.
So you just deliver the message. he better do it. If he doesn't comply, you get what you want anyways. He's denying the order of the king, and you
Mhm.
give more reason to build mount a campaign against him. So it was handled poorly by Otto for sure.
Mhm.
And obviously, Rhaenyra comes in and saves the day with her
Mhm.
bond with her
Uncle.
uncle. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's a kind of a fun moment. I like it. I like seeing the dragon
Yeah.
come through the clouds. Like it's well done.
Yeah.
But this is a situation in the past. There's no way she get away with this sort of thing. You denied the king and his wishes. You took off with a dragon, flew however many miles. Like you're you're in trouble. I don't care if you're the princess. So this whole thing where you get to kind of talk back and like be your own self when you're a child yet. I just feel like if we're going to be real, she's getting bent over someone's knees, getting the wooden paddle and like locked up in a chamber for a while because how
Yeah.
dare you disrespect the king?
Yeah, so, I mean, if Otto had his way, I bet he would.
Mhm.
Viserys is a really hard character to get a read on
Yeah,
because he's so flip-floppy, and not in, like, a bad way where I'm frustrated with him, but, like, I just can't predict how he's gonna react to stuff.
yeah,
So, like,
that's true.
you know, early on in the episode, like, Rhaenyra proposes a plan, and he just, like, harsh, like, cuts her down, like, "Fool, shut your mouth, like, I don't even wanna hear what you have to say because it's dumb." And she's like and then later she tries to bring it up again, and he's just like, "No, you don't understand." And then, like, here, he's like, like, you got the courage and, can't believe you did that. And, we're having like a father daughter teachable bonding moment and things." And I'm like, where was, where was Harsh Guy? Like, I sort of thought he was going to be there. And I think it's like due to the actor that I'm not frustrated as much by like the turn in his behaviors because he does it in other scenarios too, like with the small council. Sometimes he like kind of erupts in anger and then he allows himself to be like pulled back.
Yeah,
So I never quite know what Viserys I'm going to get. And I
yeah,
think it's due to the actor that he's handling it pretty well
mhm,
in what could otherwise seem like uneven character development or like flip-flopping.
mhm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like it's not frustrating to me. It just is like when it's something that, and
It's
maybe that
confusing.
works for him. I just think of like Tywin Lannister, the way he didn't let his adult children
Oh, yeah.
talk back to him. You'd
Yeah.
shut him down, you know? It's like you're gonna have some respect here kind of thing. And
Right.
that's a different situation than the king of, you know, King's
Right.
Landing, Westeros, whatever. And
Well, it's so to ride that train, it is and it isn't because Tywin definitely felt like he was king. Like, Robert
yeah,
Baratheon was not doing squat.
yes. Well,
He was
Tywin was pulling the strings for sure.
I mean, so he was like the hand of the king, but he was like the king. I
You
mean,
know, but
he had
was
all
he?
the power, he had the gold, he had, like, stuff going on, like, Robert Baratheon was, like, just tourneying and partying and, hunting, like, he did not give a crap.
I
So
don't know if I read it that way during Robert Baratheon. Like once it was Joffrey, for sure.
oh, Tywin
Everybody,
absolutely, like, iron fisted, like,
yeah,
he was king in all but name, but I feel like Tywin really felt like he was pulling the strings in a lot of stuff and sort of was, like, the hidden power, and then with Joffrey, it was, like, less hidden and more
maybe,
overt power.
maybe he felt that way. But he being the smart guy he is, you know, I feel like the Lannisters they weren't where they wanted to be, and they saw Robert Baratheon as the block to where they wanted to be because they weren't in charge. Their banners weren't flown. They weren't ones really calling the shots
Right.
until he was
Only
gone.
because
And then
yeah, only because he was, like, unpredictable.
yeah, Yeah, he was
Because I
unpredictable, but
feel
he
like
managed to keep all the cesspool, the whole, like, cabal in line a little bit, despite being, you
Baratheon.
know yeah, like, he still
Yeah,
everybody just did their thing. It went like, there was a system in place. There a
right,
power structure was, like, respected because there weren't these, like, coup attempts and, like,
right,
poisonings and, like, I don't know, it just felt like things were kind of settled and there wasn't
right.
order to things,
Well, and I
even though
think
Robert didn't want the job.
right, I think that's to me, that's, like, due to a couple of things. One, like, Robert Baratheon was, like, a strong personality when he wanted to be and just,
Right.
like, made very clear choices about things, and there wasn't a lot of, like, people that could sway him. So he would just, like, make choices like, Robert Aaron was his hand of the king, and then he wanted Ned Stark despite Tywin's best efforts. But Tywin was, like, managing a lot of, like, shadow things, like, things that Robert, I think, didn't directly care about and was still kind of, like, amassing his power. And I think the Lannisters were just kind of, like, positioning themselves to be where they wanted to be so that Tywin could just, like, step out of the shadows and be like, "Here it is."
Yep.
So, yeah, so when he was Hand of the King, like, he just, like, iron fisted it. And then coming back to Viserys, I just don't think, like, that's his personality normally. I think he has, like, fits of passion and fits of, like, peak where he's, laying it down, and then he does retreat into that, like, mild-mannered, like, "Yeah, just
Yeah.
kidding," like, but if Damon were to be the king, I think he absolutely would be more of a Tywin than a
Mm.
Viserys. I
Mhm.
think he would be more like, "You don't talk back to me, like, you don't get away with
Yeah.
stuff. I don't care if you're my kid. I don't care if you're my right-hand man. I don't care if you're my wife. I don't care. Like, this is how it's gonna be. I rule, I win. I tell
Yep.
you what to do."
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting because, someone we haven't talked about much is,
John Aaron,
Princess
thank you.
Rhaenyra Valerian. Um, the
R
other
Rhaenys?
option Rhaenys, yeah,
Mhm,
Rhaenys. The other option for, ruler previously,
mhm.
and we get to talk to her a little bit in this episode. What how did she what did you make of her? Like, how do you read her? Yeah, I thought it was interesting how she said, like, Viserys is no fool. He's a smart guy, and then cut to the
He
end of
was a
the
fool.
episode. you know, but
Such a fool. Yeah.
yeah, what'd you make of her? I still read her as pretty bitter.
Yes, totally read her as bitter. And actually, the actress that plays her, I don't remember her name, so Alan will have to help me out on this one. Um, but I loved her post-credits commentary where she's like, I think, Renice is both sharing what she thinks is like some hard truths with Rhaenyra, but also is doing so because she's super bitter about being passed over, and she just like wants to believe that, it's like the patriarchal system where it's just like men prefer the father to son, hand it down bloodline. They hate the idea of a woman on the throne. So even though like Rhaenyra's special for now, it's not going to last.
Right.
And she kind of takes like a weird comfort in that, like,
Yeah.
everything's going to return to the natural like patriarchal system because
Yep.
that's the only reason I couldn't have been chosen, and she
Right.
doesn't wanna believe that, like, it's something about her personally, which, I mean, we haven't seen enough of her to know if it's something personal that, like, people just saw, like, "Hey, we like the patriarchal system that we have, but then also we don't think because of X, Y, and Z personality, we couldn't accept you." You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
haven't seen enough of her, I think, to
Yeah.
know if that's true or not, but it's definitely what she wants to believe, and that totally felt right to me as, like, that post-credits explanation.
I was
Steve
I was
Best. Steve Best.
I
That's
was
who.
expecting to get
Thanks,
for
Al.
whatever reason, I was thinking she was gonna come across as a sort of what, Queen of Thorns? Was it Queen of Thorns or Queen of the Roses?
Oh, Olenna
From
type
yeah.
of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of like a high intelligence, ready to like, and
Mhm,
sort of a little above it all. Like she's made peace with this is how things are. Wouldn't necessarily expect that she was gonna become the queen anyways. And like she's aware of reality and seen it now and just like been through
mhm,
a lot and just was gonna be a wise figure that would potentially counsel Rhaenyra well. And
mhm.
I just yeah, so
Definitely no.
I just was surprised, but what she was like off of our kind of first interaction with her.
Yeah, yeah, I, like you, was kind of hoping for an Olenna Marjorie
Yeah,
type relationship where Marjorie clearly learned from Olenna how to work situations to her advantage, to, like, not quite be meanly manipulative, but smartly manipulative
yeah.
to gain power and to gain, that type of like powerful currency of being liked or being respected. Um, you know, Not being seen as like a threat necessarily, but being powerful in her
The
own way.
ones that know see her as a threat.
Right,
The other
exactly.
smart people see her as a threat.
Right.
And the
It's not
people
like
that
she's not like threatening.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So I was kind of also hoping for that relationship, and yeah, that's not what we got
Because
at all.
honestly, it's some of the best in Game of Thrones is how well done these conniving, the powers that be are at play with one another. These conversation, it like the conversations. It's like in Tarantino, but really intelligent. It's just like
Mhm. Yeah.
around the table and with wine, like drinking and talking. So I'm hoping we have some of that somewhere in this,
Mhm.
but what'd you think of episode 2?
I thought it was good. You know, Chris and I were talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, I heard some people mention that it was a slow episode," and we both didn't feel that way because we felt that it was a really great plot and character development episode. Like everything that happened in this episode felt necessary to move plot lines and people forward.
Mhm.
We got a lot of information about, like, hey, some time has passed, some threats are happening, like Damon's at Dragonstone, he's getting real ballsy about it, just announcing like, hey, I'm the rightful true heir, I'm setting up a Dragonstone, I'm gonna get married, I have a kid, I'm stealing a dragon egg, like, got my gold cloaks. So he's sort of clarifying his position, and so that sets up a lot of great conflict with his family there. um and then, we've got the whole thing with the shipping lanes that was first mentioned in
Yeah,
the episode is becoming rapidly more um, perilous for our characters, and definitely needs like immediate attention. We've got like a new threat to address in the crab feeder, whose mask, by the way, is super creepy. I
yeah,
love it. Um, so yeah, so
cool.
like things are happening, things are moving. Like the king needs to remarry. We've got some like personal relationships that are affected by that. The king and Rhaenyra's relationship moves back and forth. So yeah, I thought this was a really great storytelling episode. It wasn't the most exciting compared to episode 1, where we, got dragons and tournaments and crazy childbirth
Yeah,
scenes, and
yeah,
gold cloaks on the rampage. Like, yeah, there wasn't as much action, but we needed this to tell stories. And that's what this
yeah,
episode did.
yeah. I mean, we got to find out that we got a lot more from Lord Corlys Valerian, and
Yeah.
we find out that he's talking to Damon then at the end.
Yes.
So more
I mean,
trouble, like
who didn't see that coming?
right? Makes
Viserys
sense.
made himself some really, really obvious enemies.
Hmm.
And I was just like, of course, this team up is happening.
Yep. I mean,
Like,
look, it, yeah. Mhm. people can think the episodes is slow. I get it, but I also think there's definitely an audience out there that's like, if the episode doesn't have like a beheading and some tits, it's not a good episode. And
Right.
it's like, to me, Game of Thrones, this stuff has always been about the political drama, and
Exactly.
the the other stuff is all benefits, but
Yep.
it's not the core of the show. And that's
Right.
the the thing is, some of the best episodes can just be about the tension of the political drama. And
Mm.
in this, I mean, the tension when you have two dragons facing off,
Mm.
like,
That was
to
great.
me, those are great moments. Like, hey, you see the thing coming through the cloud, lands like all of a
Oh,
sudden,
that was such a
playing field
great
level,
moment.
like
Yeah.
it's yeah. So those are the moments for sure that
Mhm.
make the show.
Yeah, I really liked this episode
Mhm.
overall. Um
I slowly letting myself hope a little more that this
mhm.
series is going to be a success, because we got 2 episodes and pretty good. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and we got some previews for a third episode in which I mean, we seem to have more time passing. So I kind
Hmm.
of like this so far it's done well in this like jump ahead
Yeah,
storyline.
yeah, we're not
So hopefully
lingering,
they can
we're moving.
yeah. So hopefully they can continue to do that well and we don't feel like in this episode I didn't feel like I'd missed anything. You
Right.
know what I mean? For it moving along 6 months into the
Yeah.
future, I didn't feel that that passage of time was too abrupt or that, I wasn't connecting events or too many things that happened in the between time. I felt like the episode both recapped these 6 months and moved us forward in a really natural way. So I hope
Yep.
that they can continue to keep doing that well.
Yep. Yep. Agreed.
I was gonna say one thing. Man, and now
While
I
you're
can't
looking, I'll
remember
just say I'm
what
happy
that.
that the guy from Uncharted is in this. I forget his name, something Graham. He's an English actor. He is
Graham
in. He
McTavish?
does. Yeah. Hmm.
He's, Dracula too, isn't he, in Castlevania?
Oh yeah. Yep. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in the Uncharted games, and yeah,
Mhm.
he's a fun nice guy. So it's fun.
Yes.
Good to see him. Um, not
Um,
finding your other thing you wanted to bring up.
no, I just
Another the rotting finger, another
yes!
wound
That's
to the king. That's it.
that's what it yeah, that's actually yes, thank you. I was trying to, like, think of what I hadn't mentioned yet, and I was, like, coming up with, like, oh, Sir Kristen Cole joined the Kingsguard and, like, traded jabs with Damon, and that was kind of fun. Obviously, also traded some looks with Rhaenyra, so maybe there's a little something something going on there. But yeah, no, it was totally Viserys's like rotting finger and the like maggot cure that
Yeah.
the maester
Hmm.
suggests. So clearly, whatever malady is affecting Viserys, it's progressing. Um,
Well, this was another cut from the Iron Throne.
right, because it was the cut from on his
Yeah.
pinky finger that we
Right.
saw in the yeah. So I mean, first we got the one on the back, and then we got the one on the finger, and so clearly whatever the Iron Throne's doing to him, it's moving forward,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and I don't know I mean, I guess it took 6 months between the cut on the finger that we saw and the, rotting flesh, but it's kind of giving us the idea that, like, should he continue to be cut, like, this is gonna start progressing,
Yeah. Yeah.
This
It's
does feel like a time bomb in a sense. I mean, they can't just, like, have it not mean anything.
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy I don't know the story, because to me it's like, what's going to happen here in general with the history of it. I I feel like he's gonna produce a male heir, but maybe he's not long for this world. So then he dies, and then the child is too young, so we end up with like a queen regent, and you know, I don't know.
No,
It's
no, no, I'm only laughing because this is, like, literally Henry VIII.
sure, yeah,
I mean, if he does, it would totally be like Henry VIII and his son Edward, I believe, by Jane Seymour is like the long-awaited male heir that he produces, and like Henry dies. He becomes king at like this super, super crazy young age. So he needs like a regent, and then his
Yeah.
sisters basically are like, just kidding, get you out of here, kid.
Yeah,
Um,
right?
so yeah, so I mean, this would be like if this is the story of, Henry VIII and the Tudor dynasty, it's being told really well and with dragons.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
No, and
I'm here for it.
I wouldn't be opposed to someone. I obviously do this, but especially when you're thinking, "Hey, I'm writing Song of Ice and Fire, I'm writing Game of Thrones, and I'm doing backstory for all this
Mhm,
stuff." Makes sense. Let's pull from history. Let's do some
mhm.
what have been some interesting, fascinating, dramatic things in the past. Let's take this. Would
Yep,
make perfect sense. So,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're well versed so you can tell us what the comparisons are, where things deviate and
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I mean we continue down this kind of like ghost Henry VIII storyline, yeah, I mean I got the histories covered, man. This is like my time period. This is my jam. So
yeah. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, that has been House of the Dragon episode 2,
Mhm,
and that'll do it from us. Popcast on the Rocks episode 118. You should check us out on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all those places. On YouTube, leave a review or like comments, like, share, all that sort of thing. Subscribe, turn on notifications, that sort of thing. Um, if you listen on a podcast directory on Spotify, I often leave a question or a poll or something like that. This last week's one was like, when did Game of Thrones, what season did it start going bad? You know, so you can
sure.
leave an answer there,
Ooh,
that kind of thing.
I want to know for this week. I want to put a poll out there. Who should Viserys have chosen, Lena or Alicent?
Okay, all right,
I want to know.
Lena, Allison, or other, yeah. Hmm.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, if you're on Spotify, go ahead and answer those. Join the discussion. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Our theme is brought to you by Killing the Flower. Check them out on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. And that'll do it from us. Andrea, thanks for joining me once again.
Of course. Cheers to the late night, everybody.
Woo!